What's going on, dudes and dudettes? So yes, a lot of USC news. Want to get to that. Recording this the night before on Sunday night, so hopefully this will be up sometime early Monday. Probably my first time doing the longer videos without full-on mustache, so enjoy the double chin while you can still see it. But yeah, I think I did a short video talking about D'Anton Lynn becoming the new defensive coordinator for USC, him leaving UCLA, and obviously I'll start off with that bit of news in case some other people did miss that. So yes, USC did hire the now UCLA defensive coordinator D'Anton Lynn. I think they bumped up his pay raise from like $1 million to $2 million, and obviously UCLA is too cheap to compete and pay him that much. So obviously USC was able to get him. A lot of good positive news, especially for a lot of the younger recruits in the 2024 class, especially a lot of the local guys that do know him and have always thought of him as a good coach. So it's looking like it's going good so far. Maybe he'll get some of his input in this Holiday Bowl coming up, which USC actually got to finally see who they're playing and where they're playing for their bowl game. And that's going to be the Holiday Bowl down in San Diego. A lot of cheap tickets. I think the cheapest ticket's like 50 something bucks. So somebody wants to buy me one, please. But yeah, it's pretty cool. They're going to be playing against Louisville. A lot of people thought it might be Clemson to have the Riley brothers face off for the first time, I believe. But as of right now, it is a pretty good matchup. Louisville was like a top 10 team, sometimes even higher than that at some points in the season. So yes, they are a good overall team, but you never know how many guys are leaving for both the portals on both sides of the ball. So how good of a football game these really are anymore, especially when they're not the Final Four. But either way, looking forward to it. Have not heard any news yet on Caleb Williams as well, if he will play in this or not. A few more people have decided if they're staying or not, but we'll get into those in a bit. But yeah, either way, some pretty interesting stuff happening so far. So Marshawn Lloyd, other than Brandon Rice the other day, pretty much declaring for the NFL when he selected the Reese Senior Bowl invite, Marshawn Lloyd, the running back, has decided, he mentioned on his social media, that he will be going to the 2024 NFL Draft. It's pretty cool. Obviously, there's some up and down running backs this year, so he has a chance to get drafted pretty high, in my opinion, with the type of talent he does possess. So it's going to be pretty cool to see where he lands. I did mention before in previous videos that it was kind of always the dream for Caleb and Lloyd that they would go to the NFL together. So this is kind of a bit more forwarding news. There's some other news later in this video that might be like the real official reason why Caleb will not be returning, but I'll get into that in a bit. But yes, good luck to him. He was great this 1 year after transferring from the fake USC and coming to play for the real one. He did really awesome and wished he could have stayed at least one more year, but knowing the landscape of running backs, it's probably better off for him to go off, and it does leave them with quite a few less running backs at that position group on their roster, so they will most likely be going through the transfer portal, but we'll have to wait and see. And a handful of USC players did enter the portal after the last couple of days. Tight end Jude Wolfe, who was a talented guy from local St. John Bosco, but just had so many injuries that was never able to fully be healthy, except like the past year or so, but he just never was talented enough to get onto the field apparently. So I'm pretty sure he has one more year left, so he will be playing that somewhere else. And then the linebacker Chris Thompson Jr., who did transfer from Auburn, so you kind of thought, well, it's pretty good for USC getting a player from supposedly the best conference in the SEC, but even they get it wrong sometimes, because I don't think it was injury, or maybe it was just talent, because I never really saw him playing that much for USC. Don't know how many years of eligibility he has, but no hate here. Good luck to you wherever you go, brother, except obviously UCLA or Notre Dame. And then, yes, a walk-on running back in Matt Colombo, which I saw a picture of this guy that he put up on his social media. He looks like freaking Captain America or like a wrestler for how in shape and big he is for the running back position, but somehow he wasn't talented enough to play for USC. But even if you have some type of athleticism, you could play like Division II, Division III for a couple years and then be brought back to see how good you are. You even get drafted out of there sometimes. But either way, good luck to him. as well, because I think he has like 3 years left. He already graduated from USC, which is pretty crazy in only a couple years. So congrats to him. USC has finally made a handful of offers to players who have already entered the transfer portal or are planning to enter it or whatever. It's not official that you could sign or supposedly talk to players until tomorrow, Monday, which I kind of want to get ahead of this because that's when it starts, like at 7 o'clock Eastern here on the West Coast, and who knows where all these guys are going. But one of the first guys that USC did offer is a defensive lineman, I think from the Ivy League. I forget which school it was. His name was Joey Slackman. He's one of the better guys out there. He was all Ivy League as well. So he's definitely a big dude too, like 6'4", almost 300 pounds as well, in shape. So yeah, USC always likes to and needs to get some better defensive linemen, have as many guys coming in and out so your top guys aren't as tired later in the game. But we'll see where he lands. He was definitely one of the first guys USC supposedly offered, like publicly, that anybody saw. So that's pretty cool. And then there was a Western Kentucky cornerback / safety that they offered in Upton Stout. And I believe he started his career at North Texas, which is still Division I, but obviously not the greatest school. And then he did transfer to Western Kentucky, which is a little bit better, but not as good Division I. But now he's looking to go somewhere else with at least one more year left. And like I said, he's versatile. He played both safety and cornerback. So I like USC looking at some of these guys they could plug in and play at two positions other than just one, unless they're like a really talented dude, and obviously you go and get him. But either way, I still like the versatility going out there. And they did offer a Texas A&M offensive lineman, Remington Strickland. And I want to say this is because the offensive line coach his past job was Texas A&M as their O-line coach, and I was kind of surprised that none of the guys last year's portal came, but I guess he's trying to get another one of those ex-guys that he recruited to that school. And obviously everybody's trying to poach Texas A&M nowadays, but he did enter the portal, so he's probably looking for a change of scenery as well. So it could be one guy to look at. And they're a very talented quarterback that entered from Kansas State in Will Howard, who I kind of did like a post on Twitter or X as well, putting the fight on sign, but I don't think he liked it. But apparently Lincoln Riley, the head coach of USC, did fly all the way to Manhattan, Kansas, and meet with him in person and personally. So I think, he has his quarterback, and obviously this is just another piece of the puzzle that Caleb Williams is most likely gone to the NFL if he's already looking at some older quarterback to come in and play right away. And he's obviously very talented. He was one of the better players last year, and he's still pretty good this last season. But I just don't know what that means for both Miller Moss and Malachi Nelson, the quarterbacks on USC's roster, if they're going to be upset at him pretty much only coming in for 1 year. I know Miller would be, because it's pretty much only he has probably 1 year left after this season. So he will probably move on. It's just if the ex-5-star Malachi would be that upset and want to leave, and then that just means, Coach Riley has to go back into the portal and get another player who's probably younger and not all that mad if Will Howard starts ahead of him. But a lot of moving pieces right now in the transfer portal that, like I said, will happen around 7 o'clock here on the West Coast. So maybe I will be up by then. I'll set my alarm just in case, but yeah, hoping for some good news for USC. And the USC women's basketball team played tonight against San Diego. I think they're the University of San Diego. Ended up beating them 89-58. Of course, Juju Watkins had 30 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists. And I believe this is either her fourth. I forget how many games in a row she's had 30 points. I think it's 3, which she has now tied the great Cheryl Miller when she played at USC for that type of streak. So if she gets another 30-point game, it's obvious that she's going to hold that record as well. And I don't know how you keep her out of the Player of the Year awards as long as she stays healthy. And USC has a good enough record, which they do. They are 7-0 as of right now. So I don't know. and they're already a top 6 team overall in the AP poll and in the nation. So you definitely got to show them some respect now. And yes, sadly, the men's team did lose to Gonzaga in Las Vegas, 76-89. It was tough because here and there, they were pretty good and keeping it close and trying their hardest, but it just looked like Gonzaga was the better coach team out there, and some of their shots were falling for them a bit easier and stuff. So I don't know, it's a nice matchup for them to see where they're ranked and how they will be, heading towards the tournament, hopefully. But yes, probably getting soon into Pac-12 play, so we'll see how they do the rest of the season. And I believe the women's volleyball team I mentioned, the people in my head, I mentioned the other day that they were playing UMBC as part of the tournament, and they were able to win that game 3-0. So that was nice for them, but they did sadly lose tonight or yesterday, their next game to Pittsburgh, who was the number 1 ranked team in that area of the tournament. I think they lost 1-3 games, which sucks, but they tried. They almost were able to get, to a 5th game in that set. But either way, it's a productive season for them. Hopefully they will get a couple good solid recruits and they'll be able to come back a lot better next year. And Lincoln Riley's been busy. He was up there recently in Northern California looking at a Folsom High School 2026, I believe he's a 4-star right now, quarterback in Rider Lions. I've heard his name come up quite a bit in some recruiting shows that I watched. They like his talent, especially in that class with Julian Lewis, who is already committed to USC, but everybody expects him to graduate a year early and come to USC in 2025. So as long as Rider Lions still stays in the 2026 year, I think it still makes sense for him to be offered by USC, which he was. And obviously he was very excited about that, so that's pretty cool to see. Obviously, Lincoln Riley looking at the talent way far in advance, which, like I always said, is always a good thing, because if he wasn't, and he wasn't offering, then he's probably looking to the NFL, which hopefully that does not happen anytime soon. And then sadly, we heard the other day that ex-USC quarterback JT Daniels was going to be medically retiring from college football just because I think he had too many head injuries and it was just better off, that doctor said, for him not to play anymore, which sucks because I thought he was one of the best modern day quarterbacks while he was out here in SoCal and won the Gatorade Player of the Year coming out of college and was looking really good at USC until he got hurt, which sucked, and then eventually learned he lost his starting role. So ended up going to Georgia for a year or two, and then went up to West Virginia. Then because of that COVID year, he had one more year. So he went to Rice, and he was doing okay. He had some nice numbers this season, but yeah, sadly too many injuries. And he says he's looking to get into coaching too, which is pretty cool. Maybe he'll start off small or start at the high school ranks, or maybe Lincoln Riley will let him be a graduate assistant at USC and work that way, and maybe we will be able to offer him a real, coaching job once he does pretty good. So we'll see. Definitely sucks for his at least playing future, but stepping into coaching this young, you'll be able to relate to a lot of the kids, a lot of the younger guys, so it wouldn't be bad at all. Could be one of the top recruiters out there, especially for SoCal and USC. Please. So yeah, thanks for watching, people. Like and subscribe, comment down below, let me know what y'all think. Have a great rest of your day. Bye. Fight on.